Okay, thank you for checking out Museum Ship Mafia, where we take you behind the scenes of museum ships across the country and around the world. My name is Ken Stano with the YouTube channel History X, and tonight it's going to be another live crossover broadcast with History X, the USS Slater, and the Buffalo Naval Park. Tonight's episode, let's see, we are going to be talking about, let's see, there we go. We're going to be talking about the Cassin Young, a Fletcher-class destroyer that is only one of 4 Fletcher-class destroyers remaining, and it's on display in Boston, Massachusetts. We're going to have Buzz Smith on in about 20 minutes to talk about everything they got going on there. And let's see. Well, we don't have Shane, but we got John. So we're going to add John Epp from the USS Slater onto the mix. So, John, y'all checked in, ready to go?
I am ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I am. But you know what? Shane from the Buffalo Naval Park is not with us. And
yeah.
And I don't know if you heard my phone ringing in the background, but that was Shane.
Okay.
Yeah. So
do we need to call him live on air?
And do a whole IT No, no, I'm not. You know,
he's calling me now.
Is he really? All right.
Yeah.
You know what? Put him on speaker. What the hell?
Okay.
Let's see if we can talk him through this. This is going to be the worst podcast ever. And while
hey, Shane.
John, hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I cannot get into the broadcast.
I'm shocked at what I'm hearing.
Ken says he's shocked.
No, like I'm clicking the link that he sent last week, and it just goes to broadcasts, and it's like you have no upcoming broadcasts.
So at the top in StreamYard, make sure you're under the History X drop down menu.
And this whole time, Buzz from the Cassin Young's in the background.
I don't know what happened here. I'm in my account, the Shane at Buffalo Naval Park account. I'm just wondering if something happened to my computer and like it's not connected to you.
So top left, there's a drop down. It says My Team, History X, whatever. Make sure it says History X.
I don't see that in the top left. I see broadcasts and videos, destinations, and members.
What do you think, Ken?
Oh, I got nothing. I'm looking at the okay. I'm looking at Lego History. Sam's question here about the Cassin Young. We'll get to that.
Tell you what, Shane, I will send you the invite again to your email, so it's gonna get to you in a few seconds. Okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the meantime, thanks for running our IT support, John. I appreciate that.
You know, I spent all day at the ship doing IT today.
Oh, did you really?
I did. We moved some offices onto the ship.
Oh, okay. When we can talk about that. Well, so like I was saying a little bit ago, we're going to bring Buzz on for the Cassin Young. I'm pretty interested in hearing about this tonight, not only because the Cassin Young is a Fletcher-class destroyer. Obviously, we've talked about the Sullivans quite a bit here on Museum Ship Mafia, but to have the perspective of another Fletcher-class destroyer on here, of course, we've had Park Stevenson from the USS Kidd on as well, so it'll be pretty cool to hear what Buzz has to say. Let's see. And before we get too deep into things, I want to remind everybody that Museum Ship Mafia is made possible in part by Audible audiobooks. If you guys have a long drive or you have trouble sleeping and you want to fall asleep to an audiobook, check out the link in the description below for this broadcast. There's a special offer for you guys, and we appreciate the support that you give us. In turn, Audible will recognize that and throw it back our way. So that's always pretty cool. And another thing I wanted to mention is recently I became a member of the Facebook group Museum Ships. Now, I was not aware of this Facebook group until looks like John, should I bring Shane? No, we're going to make him pay for a little bit. So I was not aware of this Facebook group, but Connor, who was our guest here on Museum Ship Mafia last month, Connor Kilgore, who is a volunteer with the Alexander Henry Icebreaker. So he gave me this mug. We met in person on Sunday. Can you guys see that?
We can. There's just a little bit of a glare, but you can see it.
Oh, that's okay. But you can see it, right? See my mug? Isn't that cool? So anyway, John, you're not seeing the humor of that. So Connor wanted to visit the Pearl Harbor gun, which is on display, permanent display here in Minneapolis. For those of you that aren't aware, the U.S. was actually the ones to fire the first shots of Pearl Harbor, not the Japanese. And it was the gun from the USS Ward that sunk one of the Japanese mini-subs trying to get into the harbor. Connor wanted to check that out. And so he was in town, and I got the chance to say hi. There's a picture of the gun right there. So it was really great to meet him. He gave me this fantastic mug. So I not only wanted to give a shout out to Connor, but also the Museum Ships Facebook group. If any of you are watching us tonight and you heard about the Museum Ship Mafia through the Museum Ships Facebook group, throw a comment here. Let us know. And damn it, I was just going to bring Shane on, and now he disappeared. You know what? Oh, wait, here we go. All right. Were you getting annoyed?
Who?
You.
No, sir. No, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I think this from our 2000 watch that we had, again, I am not able to see comments, or I'm not able to comment. So I think we need a total refresh of the StreamYard thing. Because
well, here, hold on a second here. Let's see. Can you see? Okay, so here's Michael Phil. It's Michael, thanks for checking in with us tonight. We're always glad to have you on there. Can you see his comment there?
I can, and I can see it on the side. But I remember when we were doing this before, there's a little text box on the bottom where we would be able to comment on other people. That has been gone for the 2000 watch and for now. It's like we're not actually in the Buffalo Naval Parks thing or something. I don't know. So Stephen and I are going to have to sit down. I apologize to you guys especially, but then to everyone, Eric and Michael and CC and Lego History Sam. Hi. So I just wanted to apologize. I'm sorry for the delay.
It's fine.
Don't forget Eric.
Eric, man, what's going on with these sabers, man? I don't know.
Don't forget Frank.
Hello, Frank. Yep, TechSoup. You got it.
Yeah. So, and like I was saying, it's really cool to have anyone tuning in from the Museum Ships Facebook group. We're happy to have you on board, and looking forward to doing some more stuff. So it's a real interactive group, really interesting group, and looking forward to learning more about it. Let's see. All right. So,
hey, nice sweatshirt, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
and your ugly.
I've got my Sullivan's sweatshirt on. I've got my Alexander Henry mug. Can you see the mug?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. That's a lovely mug, actually. That's really nice.
Yeah. So you probably missed the part. Connor, who is an administrator for the Museum Ships Facebook group. Yep. We had the chance to meet on Sunday, so that was pretty cool. Let's see. So, John, what's going on with the Slater?
Let's see. We got less than a month until we open for a 26th season, April 5th. So next week, we may possibly be turning the water back on the ship. We took the bubblers out of the river Monday. We actually barely used them all winter. The river iced up once or twice, and it was barely. Let's see, what else? Our new shoreside building was scheduled to begin installation at the end of March. It's been pushed back a little bit, so we're hoping sometime in mid to late April. So our offices have now been moved from the shore to our officers' wardroom. We did all that work today.
Is that what that post was that you guys had on the Facebook channel? I think it was Shanna and somebody else. and
Yep.
that was
Shannon and Joanne.
Okay, and that's in the wardroom.
Yeah, so they're the ones that use the offices on shore. So
Okay.
they're the ones that we had to move. That means for the first month or so of our tour season, our tours are not going to be able to come through officers' country or into the officers' wardroom. So we're trying to find a creative way to explain all that stuff without actually going in there. But we also feel bad. People are buying a ticket to see the ship, so we may do like a reduced ticket price for the first month. We might give out, come back at a future date for free type thing. We did that in the past actually. So we're thinking of things.
Well, and yeah, I mean, this is like typical stuff that any kind of museum ship has to work out when you've got, transitions like this, or when you have repairs that need to be made. And nobody knows that more than Shane. John Epp, curator at the USS Slater in Albany, New York. If you guys want to know what I was just referencing, check out their Facebook page. Look up the USS Slater, and you'll see all their posts, especially the one that I was referencing today. You can also search for the USS Slater on YouTube. Get on YouTube, simply type in USS Slater, and they continue to. I love how their desk doubles as the operator. They continue to grow. And you can also find the USS Slater at www.ussslater.org. Anything else you wanted to throw in from the Slater?
I'll throw it out there since we announced it in our February newsletter that just went out last week.
What's that?
So the Destroyer Escort Sales Association, DESA, they're the ones who are actually responsible for getting the ship. They began looking for Destroyer Escort in the late 80s, and then eventually came across Slater, Itos, and Greece in the early 90s. They are closing up shop. They were going to close down in 2020, but then COVID happened. So this year they're coming up to the ship in June to celebrate DE Day, and then we'll have a full like banquet and things like that. So they're closing down. We'll gain their membership. It's a last man standing association with all the World War II vets now passing on. They've decided to shut things down. So we'll be incorporating them into the Destroyer Escort Historical Museum at the Slater.
Wow.
So if anyone is interested in coming out in June, it's going to be a weekend event. You can reach out to us on Facebook, email, whatever.
So John, are you actually saying the DESA organization is folding, and then you guys will kind of be not taking over management per se, but maybe taking over some administrative jobs or duties of this organization? Or
they're shutting down completely, and their treasury, what's the balance of the treasury, has been transferred to us, to the museum.
Okay.
And any of their membership lists, we get that, we'll add it to our membership list. But effectively, DESA will be gone.
Can't think of a better spot for it to go. Ken, I'm sorry. On board the Little Rock, we have a DESA display. It would be great to have you come up here at some point in our, and maybe have you look through it and maybe see if there's things that we can deaccession out of our collection from the DESA organization, and then give it to its rightful spot with your memorial ship.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning something about that a while back. And,
well, if you want, we can talk and maybe...
Yeah.
Send you some photos of what the displays look like. Again, it probably was put together 1987, I believe. So It's been almost 40 years, and it would be right to maybe deaccession the materials we have for DEs specifically, and then get them into your hands where the collection should reside potentially.
Yeah, that would be great.
So is that something that's like public knowledge, or is that something that was just announced? Or
well, they announced it in 2020. They were going to hold their final reunion here in Albany in September 2020, but COVID happened, and then they just haven't been able to do it the past few years, and COVID's finally died down, and they've decided let's do it 2023.
Yeah, COVID screws up everything.
Yeah. We will have some, the World War II DE vets. A few of them will come out and visit. Otherwise, there'll probably be some of the post-war DE vets. So the Knox class frigates; those were the last DEs into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're hoping for a big turnout.
Yeah. Well, speaking of screwing up everything, Shane, what's the latest and greatest at the Buffalo Naval Park?
Sure, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that shot. Thank you, Ken.
Do you guys have any snow on the ground yet? I know John was saying in Albany, no snow. They barely had to use the bubblers in the river. What's your guys' situation right now?
Yeah, it's been cold, but it's been sunny for about 4 days in a row now. So all the snow's gone. Our bubblers are still running. But yeah, this winter has been very mild, other than those 3 major storms that we've had here in Western New York. Other than that, there's been no snow on the ground. And if people remember when I'm doing that video with the tape measure and the river and stuff, that's what I'm saying. Like, snow used to be on the ground for weeks and weeks and weeks here in Buffalo. Now it's here for 3 or 4 or 5 days, drops a lot, 3 or 4 or 5 days, then it's gone, and it just it just runs off. It doesn't have that time to soak into the ground and get into the the water table or whatever those other terms are that I'm not a weatherman, so I don't know. But, so that's where the river drops, because it's just not being fed from as much water, but yeah, we still have the bubblers going. The Buffalo Naval Park, we are a swirl of activity all the time. So we have a party coming up on the 16th, March 16th. We are doing a St. Patrick's Day party on the Sullivans. Information is on our website if you'd like to attend. We're going to have corned beef and cabbage, and there'll be about 7 stations that will be open on the ship that people will walk around, and there'll be a guide or a docent there to talk about that particular space. We open March 25th, and then we are beginning the celebration, which will kind of loop into our conversation today, beginning the celebration on April 4 of the 80th birthday for the Sullivans, and then incorporating other Fletcher classes, Cassin Young and Kidd, potentially the Velos, for birthday celebrations throughout the year. So we're going to have a long birthday, a lot of events throughout the summer that are Sullivan-centric to honor the 80th anniversary of her commissioning. So.
Got it. So you guys get busy. It sounds like even though it's not the official open, you use St. Patrick's Day as kind of like a pre-open.
Open.
Yeah, pre-open. Got it.
Are you going to be doing that ceremony on the Sullivans, Shoreside, Little Rock?
It will be, John, being in Buffalo, it is weather dependent.
Yeah.
Certainly the ship will be open. I think we work a lot with the Sullivan's Brewery based out of Ireland. If you guys have heard of that beer. And so I think there'll be a blending. Certainly the ships will be open, but I think the food, and then we're going to have some short presentations of 10 minutes each. I'll be giving one on the history of the family and the ship, and then Bill Abbott will be talking about what we're doing and where we're going with the ship and what are the most recent updates with her preservation and stabilization projects. So
cool.
For those of you that are viewing right now we've got a little shy of 40 people checking us out. This is Shane Stevenson, curator of the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park. To check out their YouTube channel, search for Buffalo Naval Park in the search bar. Of course, if you want to support the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park, simply check out their website, buffalonavalpark.org. What else you got going on there?
I think, we're doing a lot of work on the ships. We're going to be opening up the 3-inch 50 ready service locker that hasn't been opened up before. So we're getting that stabilized and some lighting in there. I'm doing some add-on tours this year. So I'm doing an add-on tour that's a gun tour 5-inch, 6-inch torpedo tubes. That will be an hour long, and that's add on to the ticket that someone would buy, and then that's an extra hour tour that they get. And then I'm also doing weapons control, which is the main control for the Talos missile system, and that will be a add-on for the Little Rock. So throughout the season, I'm going to be doing on Thursdays and Fridays, every other Thursday and Friday, these extra add-on tours that someone can buy a ticket to the normal tour, and then at say 1:30, then they would meet with me, and then we have that extra behind-the-scenes tour, and then in addition to the curator tours and things like that. So I think I have 48 or 52 tours scheduled this summer and into the fall for extra for people to get behind the scenes and things like that, and to learn a little bit extra about our vessels under our care and their stories. And then also I have that book coming out, so I have that Arcadia book coming out, the Images of America series. I've been working on that feverishly for the past 3 days because the edits are due. So that book about the Buffalo Naval Park, it's Arcadia series, Images of America. Every city has them. They all have the same sepia cover with a historical photo on it. I'm sure you've seen them. They even sell them at Walgreens and things like that. So I did one on the Buffalo Naval Park, and that will be coming out May 15th. And then we're going to have a book release party on May 23rd, to invite people to meet me and devalue their book by having me sign it, as I always like to say.
John Epp, do you think there's any chance, I know there's power going to it, but do you think there's any chance that Shane actually has his microphone plugged in?
It looks like it is.
I know, but
do you not hear me?
No, I can hear you.
It sounds fine.
It sounds.
Boy, you were just trashing Shane today. Jeez.
Yeah, he gets frustrated, and I understand, Ken. Hey, everybody, I don't even see that we have 40 people. I don't know. Again, the interface that I'm used to, I have not seen on StreamYard. I can't make a comment. I don't see how many people are watching us. I don't have our 3 logos in the corner anymore like I used to. So I don't know what's going on here, but I can understand Ken's frustration, and I'm sorry about that.
We'll get you fixed up. So for those of you that are new to Museum Ship Mafia tonight, I always say one of the simplest yet most effective ways to support museum ships like the USS Slater or the Buffalo Naval Park with the USS Croker, the Little Rock, the Sullivans, or the Cassin Young, like what we've got coming up with Buzz in a few moments. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to support these guys is to simply check out their YouTube channels, check out their Facebook pages, click subscribe on YouTube, follow their Facebook group. It just throws a huge amount of support their way. The Slater and the Buffalo Naval Park, they're both over 1,000 subscribers. So anytime you click subscribe, it helps to get advertising dollars thrown back their way. I also want to say for audio versions of this podcast, simply search for Museum Ship Mafia on your favorite podcast platform. We definitely cannot do this without subscribers and viewers, so we appreciate your support. Submit your comments and questions. Let us know where you're from, which YouTube channel you're watching us on, whether it's History X, the Slater's YouTube channel, the Buffalo Naval Park's YouTube channel. Let us know where you're checking in from.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah, go for it. This is from Lego History Sam. I always like this.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We met when we were in Waterloo. So he works. Yeah, and he's he's watching. So I mean, he's a young kid that has a passion, and he makes Lego models of various museum ships, and he's doing a real good job. I mean, they're fabulous stuff. You could probably check him out, and his Instagram page, he's very proud of that, and he should be. So did the USS the Sullivans have behind her aft funnel torpedo and 3 launchers? Well, we did have what were quintuple tubes. All right. So we had 2 sets of 5 torpedo tubes in a rotating mount on the 01 level. The first one was taken out at the end of World War II. That would have been the quintuple torpedo tube Mark 15 at the end of World War II. Then at some point in the 1950s, they removed, probably 1959, they removed the second quintuple, which was aft of the aft stack in between that and the aft deck house. And that was probably removed in 58 or 59. We still have the mount that you can see, the rotating mount. But so when we got the Sullivans, we did not have either quintuple. And then they added the Mark 32 triple torpedo, which is maybe what you're talking about. That was more anti-ASW, anti-submarine warfare during the Cold War. So now we have the two triples Mark 32 torpedo tubes on either side near our Bofors, near the tubs where our Bofors are. So,
yeah, unfortunately, this picture is a little too small to even show.
Yeah,
it was worth a try.
But if you see the where our awning is, that white awning with the little green dot with the shamrock, that's where that second mount would have been, right above where that awning is, where people walk on for the first time. That's where that rounded mount is for the quintuple.
All right, who's ready to talk about the Cassin Young?
I am.
All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to introduce Warren Buzz Smith. He likes to go by Buzz, and Buzz is going to tell us about the USS Cassin Young tonight, another Fletcher-class destroyer. To learn more about the Cassin Young, you can check out Friends of the Cassin Young FOTCY Facebook group. It's actually pretty impressive. They got a ton of photos on there. The Cassin Young, of course, Fletcher-class destroyer on display in Boston, Massachusetts. So, Buzz, thanks for joining us tonight. Are you? How's your audio? Did we lose him? Buzz, are you there?
Oh, there he is.
It looks like he's locked up. Buzz, are you able to hear us?
Listening in, and
we might have a bad internet connection.
I mean, I can hear you.
Can you hear us now? Oh, there you go. Okay. Yep, you're live. All right. So, one of the things I was wondering, are you a volunteer for the Cassin Young, or in what capacity are you with the Cassin Young?
Yes.
I'm
one of approximately 20 volunteers. We've got two groups, if you will. One group does nothing but visitor experience, tours, etc. And then the wrench turners, people that actually do the work, do the restorations. There she is.
Yeah, and you gave me a ton of photos for the Cassin Young. But then what I did was I went on your Facebook group as well, and you guys it seems like you've got a pretty healthy volunteer base. Let's see. So of course that's you right there.
Yep, that's me. We've got a hardcore, if you will, of 6 or 7. Another batch that show up when they can, because we've got folks that come all over to come out. And then the group that does the tours and interacting with the visitors. What's unique about Cassin Young is the ship is actually owned by the Navy. We're located on the same pier as the USS Constitution. And the National Park Service has a memorandum of agreement with the National Park Service, and the park has to maintain it and keep it open in a presentable condition. So of all the museum ships, it's our understanding we're the only ones that are owned by the Navy, but they don't provide any support whatsoever, no monetary. On occasion, we get sailors from the Constitution come over and volunteer and help out to work toward their volunteer service medals. Like 2 weeks ago, the ship was floating badly away from the pier. So we had a group of bosuns come over, and us old guys can't pull lines anymore. So they came over and got the ship back in where it belonged.
I'm always kind of fascinated about how different museum ships operate. Some museum ships are owned by museums, private organizations. Others are owned by public groups. once a particular ship's donated to a city. So there's all kinds of different setups. Is it an additional hassle to have the Cassin Young actually owned by the Navy, yet it doesn't provide any support? What's the dynamic there?
I'm not going to say it's a hassle with the Navy at all, because other than helping us out with manpower, and some of the sailors like to come over and do tours with us as well.
Okay.
That's about it on the interaction with the Navy. The National Park Service, we've got 4 or 5 different offices, if you will, within the Boston National Historic Park. Mostly we work with maintenance, but then we have to work with interpretation, who actually does the tours and the presentation. To purchase things, we have to work our way up through administration if they're going to fund it. So it can be a challenge, if you want to call it that, but it's just something we deal with. That's how it works. Is it's their ship, we're their guests, and we work as close together as we can because we want to keep the ship alive and present it in the best way possible, just like every museum ship. And we actually have that FOTC group, the Friends of the Cassin Young, as a 501c3. And I encourage you to go to our Facebook page to see some of the pictures of what we do. We try to post every time there's a work day.
It's like I said a few moments
ago. There is an address on there if you choose to donate.
Yeah, well, and
Go ahead.
you sent me a ton of photos, a ton of amazing photos. I want to get into the history of the Cassin Young, but then there were also some photos on the Facebook group, and we'll get to it, that I felt you overlooked. So I want to pull some of those up later. And I thought, and let you tell some of the stories. Sure. And so let's see. So obviously this is what's the right word for this? Is this the Cassin Young logo, or, I mean, this is a picture of
This is the ship. This is the ship's patch.
Okay.
That was developed in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. I like that one. And then I think, and is this...
That is Captain Cassin Young.
Okay. So earlier, who was that was asking about why it was called the Cassin Young? Was that Lego History? Or maybe
there were a couple of people.
I believe so, yes.
People were talking about who he was.
Yeah. Yeah, so, here we go. Yeah, so Lego, called the Cassin Young. And this is actually him right here.
I can hit that real quick.
Please.
Cassin Young was a Navy commander at the attack on Pearl Harbor. He was a commanding officer of the USS Vestal, which was a repair ship. And it was tied up right alongside the USS Arizona. And when the attack happened, he happened to be aboard the ship. And they had a boiler going just to maintain steam. And he actually helped with manning a machine gun. And when the Arizona blew up, it blew him into the harbor, into the water, along with some other sailors. Swam back, got back on the ship, cut the lines, started getting it out of the way because Arizona at that point was burning furiously, and decided that he wasn't going to get out of the harbor, so he beached it, just like the Nevada, except he beached it going the opposite direction. Nevada tried getting out the bow of the Vestal was facing the other way. So he beached it where the Pepsi-Cola plant is now. After Pearl Harbor, he was awarded the Medal of Honor and then given command of the, I want to say San Francisco, but a heavy cruiser, and was killed in action off of Guadalcanal during the cruiser battles there during the Guadalcanal campaign.
So he was awarded
the Medal of
Honor. He was awarded the Medal of Honor after the Pearl Harbor. It wasn't awarded to him posthumously, I guess is what I'm asking, after he died.
No, he got awarded right after Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And actually had it hung. And it was the San Francisco. I have my cheat sheet in front of me, so I did look it up. As I get brain dead every once in a while. But and as a matter of fact, the as far as the Medal of Honor goes. The one that was hung around his neck is at the Museum of the Pacific in Texas. There was one mounted in the wardroom during the 1950s, and with the cooperation of Commander Cassin Young III, the family loaned us what's called a replica Medal of Honor that was issued to the family members, along with an officer's saber of the appropriate age and type. So that display is back in the wardroom like it would have been in the 1950s. And the volunteers are very honored to be able to have that display put back up. That's what we do. So
I think I'm kind of scrolling through some of the pictures you sent. Oh, wait, here we go. This might take a few moments, but I thought it was a pretty cool picture. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because I didn't actually know. I apologize. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this guy right here.
that's okay.
Yeah. So I'm assuming this is what you're talking about in the background. That's the saber.
Okay, that display. Yes, that's Cassin Young's actual officer's saber. The Medal of Honor and a plaque was donated by Mrs. Cassin Young. And then underneath it's the ship's plaque. Okay, that's what it looks like now, even though it's fuzzy. It's tough getting a good picture in the wardroom.
It's pixelated,
But
that's for sure.
what we did is we mounted everything on a hardwood box with tempered glass for security. And then the ship's plaque the same way. One of our volunteers made the boxes. And then we arranged mounting metal, mounting the saber, and mounting the plaque. Captain Ben Katz, retired, donated an original ship's plaque to us. So what the picture shows is that's Captain Hooper, Hooper. He's swearing in that second-class sailor is a limited duty officer. That was one of the pictures we found going through the archives. So, and we were able to, you can see the line right around their heads where the bulkhead was welded.
Yeah.
We've got everything mounted as close as we can to that same location. So that's something we're really proud of. Yeah, you just barely see the line right underneath that fan. And when you look at the other picture, you'll see everything's just a little lower because we had to drill and tap the bulkhead to mount it. And there's a beam there. So,
I wish this picture was a little better. I don't know why it's so fuzzy, but yeah. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so let me get back on track here. I wanted to.
We have a better picture. Facebook.
What's that? Oh, let's see.
Yep.
So the cast, it's got a pretty interesting history, at least when I was reading about it. And you had sent. Here we go. Oh, actually, before we get to that. So among the photos that you sent, you also sent this one, which I thought was actually a pretty interesting photo. I don't know what the history is or what's going on here, but I just like the picture.
That's a picture from the mid-50s. One of the alterations that was made at the Boston Navy Yard, that's why we ended up with this ship, they put in a Mark 32 anti-submarine torpedo system. What you see underneath the sailor on the right is one of those Mark 32 torpedoes, but that's a training torpedo. That's why it's painted the color it is. So after you do your drill and it floats back up to the surface, you can go find it. You don't want a color that matches the ocean. You want something nice and bright so you can go recover it. The Navy loaned us one of these, and it was getting quite rusty and being exposed to the weather since the 70s. So we got permission from the Navy and the National Park curator because of this picture, and we painted the one that we have exactly like this. And it's a real attention getter. That's on the starboard side, just forward of what was the weapons office on the main deck. And they had 2 launchers and 2 reloads for each loader, or each launcher on port and starboard. The system didn't work worth a hoot and started getting replaced by the ASROC system. which is what we had on the ships that I was on, is ASROC. Destroyer escort / frigate, by the way.
Why didn't it work? What went wrong?
It's got a built-in sonar. It just wasn't. You gotta get close to the submarine, and whenever you're close to a submarine, they can hear you. So they just, if you ever watched Red October, you know how they do that Crazy Ivan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you do the same thing with a destroyer. If you got a submarine, as soon as you hear the propellers that close, you do something and get out of the way. And this thing just didn't have a strong enough sonar to work all that well. And luckily, we didn't have to use them anyway. That's the way it is. The ASROC fires with a rocket.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was a question earlier when I was talking about the Mark 32s. They were like, was it part of the ASROC system? And we just moved on. So our system would be the same as your system. So it was the version and the modification before the ASROC, I believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that.
Video, rather. There we go.
Let's see. Yeah, I can't find that question. I was going to.
That's what that's all about.
Let's see. All right. When it comes to the history of the Cassin Young, you sent a couple of diagrams, and I found this kind of interesting. I wasn't aware that it was actually hit twice by kamikaze attacks, and I'm going to let you dig into this here. But this is a diagram detailing the first kamikaze hit on April 12th, 1945. Go ahead.
Sure. We actually got strafed once as well with 5 wounded in action. This was the first major hit. They had a whole batch of these Val dive bombers attacking off of Okinawa. They shot down most of them, but one of them came into the Cassin Young, and they think the pilot may have been killed because he hit the upper radar mast. The picture in the middle, you can see the top is cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see the radar and the picture on the lower left hanging there by the stack. We lost 1 sailor and had 60 wounded in action. Lots of damage to the ship. You can still see some of it, by the way, if you know where to look. We've been kind of interested in painting the areas red, but because this is the 1950s, we can't do that. So anyhow, that was our first one. That was in April 1945. They went back to Ulithi Atoll and had the mast replaced by a ship that was going to be scuttled that had been damaged worse. And they just moved the mast over from this other ship onto Cassin Young. And then once it was repaired, did some more tests, and then back up to Okinawa.
And
this would be. Oh, go ahead.
Well, so you were saying that you can still see, as the ship sits today, you can still see some of the damage from that hit.
Yes, and this one as well.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and tell us about the second attack.
Okay. The second attack, they were down on radar picket number 8, down south of Okinawa. The first one was up north in radar picket number 1, which was absolutely the worst place. But 3 a.m. off Okinawa, they were cruising in their position. A Betty bomber, which they feel was guiding these kamikaze aircraft in, ended up getting shot down way away from the ship. This is a cloth and wood biplane with either a bomb or explosives in it, 1 pilot. And the feeling from the captain's after-action report is he probably followed the wake of the ship, which in the Pacific, you can actually see the phosphorescence and follow it. And he came in from the stern, and that's when they picked him up. They couldn't depress the guns. They were firing as best they could, but they didn't hit him. And he's awfully slow, we in a biplane, and you can see on the diagram that he came up from the stern, up the starboard side, and then dove right into the motor whaleboat that was hanging there, went through it and into the forward boiler room and exploded inside the boiler room, killing everybody in there either instantly or shortly thereafter. Lots of other damage about the ship. We had one sailor that ended up missing, was declared killed in action later. They found his life jacket floating, and that was it. 21 killed, 45 wounded. I saw somebody talk about the medical in the wardroom on one of your comments. Most of the serious injuries went to the wardroom. Lesser injuries went to sickbay, and minor injuries went to aft berthing. The interesting part of this hit is the ship went dead in the water. Of course, they lost steam. They had flooding, they had fires. Damage control works. They had the ship cross-connected onto the aft boiler and engine room, and fires put out, and casualties starting to get treated and dewatering in 25 minutes. This is the damage from the second hit. You can see the big hole in the deck, and to the right side of the top picture, you can see there used to be a motor whaleboat. There's a davit there, and the second picture on the right, you can see the davit.
Oh, I see it.
Just,
yeah.
And you can see the hole right behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. All of these pictures, by the way, were taken by Dr. Savezma, who was the ship's doctor. He was the official ship's photographer from the previous commander. But the other thing that when we go back live, I can show you something, but this whole area was destroyed. Every time I go in that boiler room, it just, you think about it. You think about this hit and the sailors that were down there. Because having been a sailor and being a corpsman, it's just unbelievable, this type of damage. The day before,
you were a sailor and you were a corpsman?
Yes. Yeah. 84 to 98, I was in the Navy as a corpsman.
Okay.
I did 2 ships, Navy Reserve, all reserve time in the Navy, but 2 hospitals, 2 ships, and then got commissioned in the Air Force and retired as a light colonel. So what a country. Started off as a 3rd class petty officer and all the way to light colonel. Something to show the viewers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to the damage, that is a piece of the outer hull of the ship. And the important part is that. Let me get it here with the camera because everything's backwards. That is the hull of the ship. That's a reason why they call it a tin can. You can put a rifle bullet through it. They're all Fletcher-class destroyer. Even the gun mounts look like they're armored. They're not. They're just plate steel. The only armor per se was a double layer around the boiler and engine rooms. That's it. So you have a 250-pound bomb go off. That's a lot of damage.
Well, and I wanted to ask you about, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. The previous diagram, if you want to call it that. So this thing, okay. So here, let me back up one more. Okay. So the first Kamikaze hit, in a sense, it makes sense because it's a valve dive bomber, and you were aware of those were heavily used. But then this second attack in July is simply a trainer, like you said. It's a fabric covered wooden plane, extremely slow, but it sounds like it actually caused the most damage. And is that because of what you said a few moments ago, the fact that it pretty much just flew in wave top so low the guns couldn't depress, and it kind of snuck in?
Correct. Yep. The day before, the USS Callahan, another Fletcher, was hit by one of these same planes about 15 feet lower at the waterline, and she sunk.
Oh, wow.
Cassin Young survived because the guy hit at the main deck. He hit that boat and then into the main deck. So they were able to keep the ship afloat. So, and I see the comment, yes, the radar pickets got creamed off Okinawa, and that was their job. The small boys protect the big boys and the landing craft. That's our job. So
When
yeah, there was a tactic. The Bettys were the bird dog, if you will. They would find the fleet and bring the kamikazes, and then hopefully get back. But a lot of this particular attack on the July 30th, they shot down a lot of them. But once they got inside, the night fighters had to leave. This was 3 a.m. It's not dark. It was full moon. So they could see. They could see well enough to get in there. And that's what happened. And they wounded so many, including the captain, who was up on the bridge. He was up on the bridge wing looking, having the ship turned to starboard to try to get some more guns to bear. And that's when they got hit.
And how many did you say? How many casualties from that second hit?
The second one,
I thought
just
I
flip
thought
it
I-
was on.
Hold on a second. Let me back up. I thought I
22
saw-
killed, 22 killed, 45 wounded. And a 22 because a one MIA was declared killed in, I think it was 1947, because they
There
never
it is.
found him, and they started declaring all the missing at that point.
And what's a
Yeah.
compliment for Fletcher at this point? Was it like 250,
At
something
this
like that?
point, about 325, 325.
So
Full complement.
losing
You always have
losing
people
that
coming
many
and going.
guys is pretty substantial. Yeah.
Medical wise, we had one doctor, one chief corpsman, one first class corpsman, and then one third class corpsman, which for a ship this size, that's a good sized medical department. But again, it's a war. So the ships nowadays that I were on, no doctor. We'd take a group doctor out with us when we were out training, but he wasn't assigned to the ship. He was just a Surface Group 4 surgeon. And he liked to get out of the office, so he'd come out with us.
Let's get into the Cassin Young as a museum ship now in Boston. You sent along, as I keep saying, you sent along a ton of great pictures, great photographs. And so how long has the Cassin Young been sitting in Boston?
She was brought up in the 70s. When they converted the Boston Navy to the Boston National Historic Park, which is the current name, that was the one back then, they wanted a ship that was built there. The only one that's still around that was built in Boston is the former USS Charette, which is now known as the Velos over in Greece. That was actually built in Boston. They're not going to give it up. So they started looking around and they found Cassin Young in mothballs in Philadelphia because she'd been transferred from the Pacific to the Atlantic Fleet and then mothballed in 1960. So in the 70s, they acquired it from the Navy and towed it up because she can't get underway on her own power ever. And she was upgraded in Boston 5 times. That's why it was so attractive to bring her to Boston. That's a older picture of her in dry dock. Dry dock number 1, which still exists and is still in use by the Constitution and us.
Well, when's the last
It
time
took
the
them
Cassin
several
Young
years
was
to. Right before I started, so I've been there 8 years, so about 10 years ago. And the park is working on getting the funds out of Washington and the plan to get it in 5 years from today. So there is a plan to get it in the dry dock. The last time, that's how I got this piece of plate, is they ended up replacing a lot of the hull down at the edge of the water line. And I couldn't find the pictures, but we do have pictures of her with her ribs showing, which is pretty awesome. So,
and
we're berthed right in front of that dry dock. We actually are right in front of that. And if Constitution has to go in a hurry, we get towed out into the harbor and Constitution goes in. There you go. That's the last dry dock session there.
Yeah. So like I was saying,
and yes, we do still have our propellers.
The Facebook group that you guys have is really impressive. Tons of photos. This isn't a photo that you included. I just kind of lifted this off the Facebook page. I I loved seeing this. We talk a lot about getting the USS the Sullivans, wanting to see that get into dry dock, and what kind of things when the Cassin Young ended up in dry dock, what kind of things were repaired? What kind of things were discovered? Are you able to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, again, I wasn't there, but I'm good friends with our volunteer side coordinator, Steve, and he takes pictures left, right, and center. A lot of those pictures are his. They replaced a lot of hull plates. They did a complete survey of the hull. Found we had no water incursions. It was just thin spots that they found, and it was decided they had enough money, so
Uh-oh.
so there was quite a, and then replace. You'll do have a suction system that's around the. We
Should we have him log off and maybe log back on?
and stuff like that. It does help. Good. We've got
I
one
was just wondering.
propeller that's got just a tight. It's got a little bit of a leak. Just that what I like to call the green crud around the bolts, which means there's seawater coming in around the bolts, and that's planned to get fixed during the dry dock period. But we made sure to secure that watertight hatch. We just dogged that sucker right down. So if something happens, the water should not get out of that space. But
and did you say a few moments ago that you want to try and get it back?
You got to keep the water out.
In about 5 years.
Mm-hmm. You broke up a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bit. Could you repeat for me?
Yeah. Did you say that you wanted to see the Cassin Young back in dry dock in about 5 years?
Yes. The supervisor of maintenance for the park has told us that he's working on the actual dry dock plan and funding. So that would make it about 15, 16 years since the last dry dock, and that's a good schedule. We want to get it in there before there's any noticed problems.
Now, I'm sure you were probably aware of when the Sullivans took on water. Let's see, Shane, that's going on almost a year ago, right?
April 14.
Yeah. What over at the Cassin Young, because you guys are also a Fletcher-class destroyer, what were your thoughts when you heard that the Sullivans had started taking on water?
OS, if you will. It was scary, if you will. We sat down and tried to come up with a plan on our end of it. They're far enough away. There wasn't an awful lot of help we could give them other than, support in the background, which I know Slater was a lot closer. They sent some folks up, but we started looking, okay, where can we get pumps? What type of pumps does the park have? And then the simple things. If you've got a storage area down below water that you're not into all the time, close it. And that's what we did. We started closing up the magazines, closing up like the 20 millimeter lockers, flag storage lockers, all that stuff we tried to close up. The difficulty, if you will, is a lot of them have rubber gaskets. Mm-hmm. And if they're new, they were new in the 1950s.
Yep.
So with one of our other plans is we've got to come up with a place to get new gasket material, start replacing gaskets so that when you tighten them down, you're not tightening them down on a piece of rubber that's like a piece of concrete. Same with our watertight doors in the main deck. We're having an awful time with rust. We're jealous of the Slater because they can fix them. We have to hire a contractor, and he's supposed to come aboard next week and start taking a hatch at a time, watertight door at a time, and start repairing them. But it did give us a bit of a wake-up call. The park has one large-scale air-driven pump. We've got several small pumps, and we identified where we could rent big ones. But as all of us, we all hope it never gets to that stage. That's the worst scenario for all of us.
When when the Sullivans took on water, I imagine, and one of the comments, this is when we first started all talking together. John, it just kind of changes a way a museum ship has to, well, any museum ship that's in the water, I should say. It just kind of changes the way you guys look at your daily operations, keeping doors closed, maybe increased inspections, and I'm assuming that's the kind of stuff you were looking at.
Yes.
Okay. And so on your Facebook page, you have a lot of photos, a lot of incredible photos. And when I see something like this, I'm assuming this is almost a daily challenge that you and your volunteers come across.
I don't know what that picture is. I know it's something that needs to be fixed, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure when and where it was taken, to be honest with you.
Well, there's a difference.
Anybody was at the HNSA conference in Honolulu. This is bad.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and there's a difference, a little bit of a difference anyway, or maybe I'm wrong. But when you talk about the Slater and you talk about the vessels at the Buffalo Naval Park, they're right now surrounded by fresh water, and you guys are in salt water. So that's got to be more challenging.
we're actually in what's called brackish. Right inboard of us, if you will, is the exit of the Charles River, which is freshwater. And it comes into that area right around the Charlestown Navy Yard and mixes with salt water. And that is why it's so important to have that cathodic protection system, because you do have a lot of salt. It's something that it's checked, like I said, monthly. We also have our soundings taken. We've got one of the Constitution sailors who did it active duty, wants to come over once a month and take soundings, which we're more than happy to have her come on over. Any help we can get like that's great.
Now, this is one of the other pictures that you sent me, which it's a pretty amazing picture. Everything looks super clean, nice and painted. What are we looking at here?
Okay, you're on the bow, right behind Mount 51. You've got the ship's bell, of course. We actually had one of our volunteers make the new striker for it because the striker was missing. Somebody had painted it with some kind of varnish or something. So one of my projects, I took it down to the bare bronze and polished it. The fire hoses, one of our volunteers, Tim, takes them home and bleaches them to get the green goo, the mold and stuff off them. The tank that's in the foreground actually came from the USS North Carolina. They gave it to us. They had several on the ship, and we'd been looking for one. It's a foam proportioner. It doesn't belong on the bow, but we put it up there because it's protected. One of our, actually a couple of our volunteers restored it, and we decided to place it there. There's two separate tanks inside of that thing with two separate setups for foam, so that when you're fighting oil fires, there it is when we got it. One of the volunteers from North Carolina lives in Maryland, and I happened to be going to the Maryland Antique Arms Show down there, and he brought it to Maryland, and I picked it up in Maryland and brought it home. And the company that made it is still in existence. And you can see there's a decal on the face of it. They sent us a picture of the decal, and we had them made exactly as it was. And then I believe we sent some up to the Slater and some down to the North Carolina. And you don't see it there, but there's a decal going on it once the weather turns and the metal's warm enough. But that's the forward firefighting station.
Like I said a few moments ago, you sent some great pictures, this being one of them, but you did not provide this one, which is some of the fascinating stuff that you've got on your Facebook, on your Facebook page. And taking a step further, you've got photos of your volunteers, doing a lot of dirty work. What how strong or how extensive is your volunteer group? How many volunteers do you have, and what kind of stuff do you have them doing?
Sure. As with every organization, you've got a lot on paper. So we've got about 25, give or take. We've always got folks coming and going, either because it's not what they want to do or health issues. Unfortunately, some of them have passed away. But that was one of our newer, if you will, volunteers, Billy. He's actually a retired electrician. This is our other Billy, which drives us crazy trying to figure out which one we're talking about. Billy's a retired Air Force, this gentleman. The other Billy's a retired, we call them brown shoe Navy. Shane would know what that is. Them darn Airedales that still call things floors and ceilings. And they're aviation. But volunteers are a different breed of cat. You can't have someone that acts like an officer ordering them around. Because they'll leave.
Volunteers.
So we're all equal. We have a coordinator because the park wanted one. But we try to identify projects we want to do. And that's how you get the best work out of people is, what do you feel like doing? And a lot of them will just say, well, what needs to get done? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's on all hands. Like this coming Saturday, we've got to clear one of the storage areas up at the park because a lot of our stuff is in there that isn't displayed, and the building's got to be rehabbed. So we've got to take out what we want, get it to the ship, and then allow the rest of it to be disposed of. And honestly, for your other ships, nothing good. Nothing we can actually pass off. We may end up with some of the waist belt type life jackets, but that's about it. But and that's on all hands. That's something we have to do. The rest of it, this guy is a sick individual. He loves to paint. I hate to paint, but he'll do anything. We brought him in on a volunteer service weekend. We do that every year now. He's a part of my VFW post. And we usually get about 6 or 8 volunteers from the disabled veterans and the VFW. And they just come in and do whatever we ask them to do for a day. Mm-hmm. This is a great project that one of our other volunteers, Bird Dog, we had 4 different colors of upholstery in the enlisted crew's mess. And we found what the original color was back in the 50s. And it was this oddball looking tan. So we had a private donor that donated the money to have every piece of upholstery done. And this volunteer and a couple of others took them all to the upholstery shop and then brought them all back and then repainted all of the framework while the cushions were out.
Hey, Buzz.
That's the type of projects we do.
Hey, Buzz, how long did that bench project take? Do you know offhand?
Not as long as you'd think. A big project, the vendor we had just dove right into it. The plus was we brought him the cushions. If he'd have had to come to the ship and take them down and then bring them back and put them back together, the price would have been crazy. Mm-hmm. But he did it in pieces. We'd bring a batch of pieces up. He'd do them. We'd bring them back, bring them up some more. But it was in a case of months, not years.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Why is that something you're thinking about doing on the Sullivan, Shane?
Well, we have to, right? The mess deck. Yeah. The mess deck got ruined, So we've removed all of the benches that you'd see. We have similar benches here, and so now we're working to. That's one of the things in my wheelhouse is to get them reupholstered. So. Just looking at if you said it was a month or two, or that kind of gives me a guideline that I can follow as well. Do you guys have? Do you just have benches like that, or we have like a lot of 4-man tables too?
We've got a lot of them. We've got the benches on the bulkheads, and then the 4-man tables in the middle.
Oh yeah,
and then we've got this one. I believe he's painting is. It's not a table. It's like a bench, and it's got to fold down so you can put sailors inside. So we've got a few of those as well running down the center of the mess. You be skinny, I get into them 4-man tables. I don't fit.
I mean, Shane, when you see some of these pictures, obviously do you pick up on the similarity between the Cassin Young and the Sullivans, or are the ships quite a bit different after World War II, after reconfiguration, all that stuff?
No, the Cassin Young and the Sullivans are probably much closer than, say, the Sullivans and the Kid, or the Cassin Young and the Kid. Okay. They're very similar. We have that Mark 32 triple torpedoes. You guys, I think, are also had your Mount 53 removed like we did. Do you have a picture of the overview of the?
Actually, no.
You have.
Hold on a second. I don't know if I've got an overhead shot or not.
So you have Mount 53 on yours, Buzz?
We lost him again.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on a second, though. I thought there was.
Yeah, I just thought offhand the Mount 53 had been removed, but I could be wrong. I mean, I guess I could try and find an overhead shot too.
And this picture doesn't.
There we are. We're back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. There, the Mount 53 is there at the time, so you must not have a 3-inch 50 on the aft superstructure.
No, we've got quad 40s between the stacks, one on each side. That was one of the changes. You can see the mast is a tripod. That's 1950s, and they removed all the 20s. The only guns that are original are the 5-inch, and then there's one twin 40 on the stern. That's original to World War II, as well as the 5-inch. A lot of extensive modifications in the 1950s. That's the World War II version right there.
Yeah.
In the original camo
when
pattern.
you originally sent these pictures, I just thought, okay, World War II, there's the camouflage and everything, but I actually did not pay attention. You're right. So you look at this picture, and above the superstructure, there's nothing. And then you take a look at what was added in the 50s, quite a bit different.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
they still have
National Park guidelines.
What do you mean with National Park guidelines? What are you talking about there?
You have to pick a period when you're presenting. So we have to present the ship as the 1950 to 1960, because that's the configuration that she's in. And then the visitors usually realize it's served in World War II, and a lot of questions about that. So we kind of get into that with the visitors, but the ship itself is configured for 1950s. Now, during World War II, you showed that picture of the camouflage. It was repainted in the Pacific to what they call ocean blue, which they thought was a better camouflage than this. Unique thing about the Pacific is you've got all the plankton that when your propellers go through the water at certain times, you get phosphorescence. So you can find the ship usually, especially from the air. And then, of course, back in the 50s, it went to haze gray and underway. So we actually found all those colors when we were needle scaling. Actually, Tim is a maniac with a needle scaler, and found all the way to the zinc chromate primer and some red lead primer. And then the camouflage, and then the blue, and then the gray. So we've got a little piece with a frame that shows all the colors.
Fabulous.
Shane, John, what other questions do you guys have for Buzz and the Cassin Young?
I have two.
Go ahead.
He mentioned the foam applicator. Yeah, the decal. So we top of my head, Slater, we have 3 currently that I can think of. Barry Whitty, who of course worked with Shane, they sent us the label for the foam applicator, and he and some midshipmen have been working to repaint the applicators and put the decals on. Actually, it's a small world. one of the foam applicators is currently in our aft washroom right now. Every Saturday, the midshipmen come in, and they are currently working on repainting one of the foam applicators right now. Other thing, way back to the beginning of the broadcast, because I forgot. So the Cassin Young, we talked about who it's named for. He when he was commanding the San Francisco, our namesake Frank Slater was on the San Francisco, and he was killed only hours before Cassin Young was killed. Frank was killed in the air attack on the 12th when the plane crashed into the 20 millimeter aft.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, Cassin Young was the commanding officer of Frank Slater.
Small world.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And
now
I kind of mentioned
another
to
thing
Ken
that ties
earlier.
into that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I can ask my question later.
On the bridge with Cassin Young was Admiral Callahan, who they named one of the other Fletchers after, and Cassin Young through the whole Pacific, and it was the Callahan that got sunk the day before Cassin Young got hit. So, now we've got another connection to Slater. It's like, wow.
Do you know anything about her history in the Mediterranean in the 50s? I was reading about it, and Cassin Young was operating in Greece for a little while with the Navy. And of course, Slater was in the Greek Navy at the same exact time. So I'm willing to bet Cassin Young and Slater probably operated together in the 50s in the Mediterranean, which is pretty cool.
They probably did. I would guess so. One of our volunteers, Bob Harris, is really into the history. I can find out from him.
Okay, great.
He's into the weeds. He's the one that did those diagrams, by the way. What I do know about the Mediterranean is we found a letter from the soda shop company, APCO, asked from the company telling the Cassin Young that no, we don't have anybody that can fix your soda shop machine in the Mediterranean. So we know it had one, and we chased one for about 5 or 6 years. I gave you a picture of it, Ken. We happened to find online a guy closing his antique shop in Pennsylvania. And we were there in 2 days and completely restored it and put it back on the mess deck.
I think
it's probable find.
This
they don't. The company exists, but they don't make that machine anymore.
You talking about this right here?
It's on the mess deck on the. That's the puppy right there.
Yeah, it's a little pixelated.
We had we had to gut it, all the machinery inside.
I didn't know what this was. I thought it was some kind of like electrical panel or something like that. And then it comes to find out it's a soda machine. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a type that used the syrup. You tied into the water system on the ship, and then it fed the syrup and the carbon dioxide into it and dropped a little 4-ounce cup down into that opening in the front. And it cost you a nickel. And when we were looking for one of the gunner's mates that served aboard in the 50s told us that what he'd do when they were at Condition 2, which had the gun manned, and he'd go down below with everybody's nickels and bring a number 10 tomato can, one of those big cans from the galley, and fill the can up, and then bring the can and the cups back up to the gun mount. So we knew it had one, but it was just an incredible find, and we couldn't get to Pennsylvania fast enough to go get it. And we had the proof that it was on the ship, so it's back aboard. It doesn't work. It'll never work. We gutted it. We had to.
What other questions you guys have for Buzz? Anything else?
No, I think I've been seeing a lot of comments about the torpedoes, so there seems to be a lot of action, at least in the comments about the torpedoes. I do want to say the Sullivans had quintuple, not quadruple. All right, so their torpedo tubes were 5. I think that was standard across all Fletchers. So for Lego Sam, they weren't quads; they were quintuple 5. Just got to say, and then the 3, the Mark 32 anti-ASW. Yeah, we're really excited. I've talked to Buzz a few times this year, along with the kid. The kid is in mostly her World War II configuration. That's what we're working on too. When we were at Hinza together and I met Buzz for the first time, he talked about the furnishing plan that was created by the National Park Service. So he sent me a copy of that, and I'm going to kind of mimic that with some changes for USS the Sullivans when she gets back from dry dock, and we can kind of bring some more authenticity back to the Sullivans as well, using that as a guidepost, their furnishing plan, as an example and something that we could mimic in a roundabout way. So we're really happy about that. And of course, the 80th anniversaries of the Fletchers, the Kid, Cassin Young, Sullivans, and the Velos in Greece, as you guys have talked about. And so we're working to do some joint projects or displays or some roundtable discussions throughout the year. And that will hopefully start in April. So that's something we're really excited about too.
When you talk about 2 Fletcher-class destroyers that were modified in the 50s after World War II, so they're still pretty similar. And whether it's Shane, you look at the Cassin Young, or maybe Buzz looks at the Sullivans. Do you guys see like different? It could be as simple as a soda machine. I don't know, but do you see certain things that, oh yeah, I'll bet that was on the Sullivans. I wish we had that. You use the foam applicator as an example. So do you see pieces of equipment like that you wish you had, and maybe like you plan like a night raid, maybe we can steal it?
I tell you, Ken, you're fabulous sometimes.
Well, but I mean, all joking aside, I mean, do you see, like, Buzz, do you see stuff on the Sullivans? It's like, yeah, we could get that.
I think one of the things that every museum ship needs to start thinking about is that there's no scrounging at the bone. There's nothing of our age left in Philadelphia or out at Susan Island or out in California or up in Washington State. So we need to work together, actors that we can parlay into something else. We have to, because you're not going to get us off of a 1970s fast frigate, FFG, the guided missile frigate. Same stuff. The watertight doors may be the same, but because they're being towed, won't let you take any off. So that's why we have to repair them. But I think we all want to be the kid when we grow up, because they're gonna.
Well, yeah, that was. I would say that this 80th anniversary is like a great first step to collaborating. And I did not know Buzz before Hawaii and Hinza, and now we have a good working relationship. And how I kind of see this going is, hey, how's this equipment, and maybe what we could do, or that equipment, and maybe what I see is us doing joint orders for something, which would be really cool. Now we're pooling resources together. We could each use 5 of whatever. I don't even know. Oh, we need 40 millimeter clips or something, right? And we could maybe joint order them instead of us just ordering our own and they ordering their own. We could do a joint thing where we order 10 or 15, and then it would be split among the 2 vessels. I think would be something that I can kind of see.
Don't forget the Slater has 40 millimeters too.
Oh, the Slater. Let's all get in.
You want to include us on that order? That'd be good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But so I kind of see it just like right off the top. We had an ice cream machine,
and I neglected to say we all want to really be the Slater.
Right.
Oh, really? Is the Slater the benchmark?
Well,
I hear a lot.
The Slater was lucky because. So I think out of the 3 vessels here, the Slater was in service relatively, not not too long ago, 30 years ago. 1991, she was decommissioned. So the Greeks, they brought the Slater. The Greeks brought Itos into dry dock in 91. They did like a day-long dry dock for us in 93 before they gave the ship back. And then we did a dry dock in 2014 and a dry dock in 2020. So the ship her hull was in reasonably good condition before she even became a museum. So we've been fortunate in that regard.
Yeah.
And the reason it might be hard to get some of these, besides the ships being gone, but going to salvage parts, our director, Tim Rizzuto, is kind of known for being, he goes to anywhere he can and gets things. And he's been doing this since the 70s.
Tim's known for being resourceful.
Yes.
I'm not saying he was patted down at a Henser conference on the Midway before he left, but he may have been patted down.
So I was just joking, but the idea of like doing a night raid on another museum ship isn't out of the question when it comes to Tim being involved. Yeah. And okay, final question, Buzz, before we let you go. Is anyone in contact with the Greek Fletcher, the Velos? Does anyone have any kind of regular communication with those guys? Or do they try and communicate with you? Have you guys ever heard from them? Nothing. I mean, I saw Shane, you shook your head. Nothing, no communication with the Greeks at all.
No, I was kind of waiting for the lag with Buzz to come in on that. But we have, for the Fletchers for the 80th, we've said, oh, I might have a contact. Let me check. And then they come back a week later and say, oh, no, I don't actually have a contact. Or I used to have a contact, but they don't work there anymore in Greece. So our boss, Paul Marzello, is going to Greece, I think sometime this summer, but he's not going around Thessaloniki where the ship is docked. So I said, Greece isn't that big though, so you could probably get there in 2 hours or 3 hours or something, depending. But so I think we've tried as of right now to make a full faith effort to like reach out. But yeah, the language barrier maybe, so.
Yeah, I tried reaching out to them a couple weeks ago and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay, so yeah, I think, it might be one of those things, but we are still going to honor, we were talking about it just today. We're thinking of getting a flag for the Greek Navy for the USS Velo or the USS Charette HS Velos. I think it's the designation is HS. Is that right? You would know that, John, maybe.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's HS, it's Hellenic ship, right?
Hellenic ship.
Yeah,
yes,
HS. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think we might get a flag of the Greek Navy and maybe fly that. We've already just purchased the kids' pirate flag for the 80th. Hopefully you guys have the Shamrock flag, maybe Cassin Young, or maybe not. I don't know. We could talk about that at another time. But and then Buzz has been working on a ship flag using the patch. To see how that goes, and then we'd fly that as well. So that's one of those small things that we can do. But I think we've made a full faith effort to reach out to the Velos.
Parks actually does a really, really good.
Oh, go ahead, Buzz. You were talking about Park Stevenson?
Park sent us a really good JPEG of the rooster. So we're probably going to make one with a rooster.
Excellent. I would like to see that. Yeah, hopefully, and we'll stay in touch because we'd like to get that for, I think yours is May. Is your commissioning in May? I can't remember offhand. I think.
December.
Oh, you're December 31st? Yeah, that's okay. I always get that confused. Yep, December 31st.
Kid in April, then you guys, and then us at the end, and then the Velos would be a little there somewhere.
Yeah, the Velos must be in May. The Charette must be in May. We're in September, and the new guys in December. So, yeah. So as I said earlier, 80th anniversary. We're doing stuff specific for the Sullivans, but then we're going to do a joint thing as well. So hopefully everyone can tune into that. We're going to do some live sessions on YouTube, things. So talking about the ships. So that's really exciting.
Well, Buzz, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and telling us all about the Cassin Young. Learned a couple of new things. Is there anything else you want us to know about the Cassin Young before we kick you off?
When do you open for your season?
Oh, that's a good question.
We actually have a couple of volunteers opening on the weekends based on weather.
Okay.
The park rangers, the seasonals won't be in until around Memorial Day. So it's up to our volunteers to actually open. And they usually do Saturday, Sunday. They just a few days during vacation week for the schools. So if we've got veterans, if they contact us through the Facebook page, a lot of us, that's why we do this. You know, we still have a few 1950s era, maybe from Cassin Young, but from other ships, we try to get them aboard. But we're in there every Tuesday, every Saturday. If anybody close to Boston is interested in volunteering, contact us and we'll interview you. Yeah, right. And you're interested, and you can go up and down the ladders. We'll make you a volunteer.
Nice.
They won't have a choice. So yeah, that's actually a very important point. You know, we've talked about it before on Museum Ship Mafia. If anyone is interested in volunteering for any museum ships that, you know, might be nearby where they live, definitely check them out. But in the case of Cassin Young, if you are remotely close to the Boston area, check out the Friends of the Cassin Young Facebook group, the Friends of the Cassin Young FOTCY Facebook group. They've got a ton of information there, plenty of pictures. And yeah, if you want to volunteer, I'm sure Buzz isn't going to turn you away. Quite the opposite. He's probably going to make you stay. And
Needle gun right in your hand.
yeah. And then, of course, you can also learn more about the Cassin Young, the Boston National Historic Park YouTube channel, Boston NHP. I actually found a lot of interesting videos on there as well, so check out that YouTube channel. Buzz, anything else you want us to cover before we let you go?
Last thing, we recorded a show for Fox Business last spring, and they've been broadcasting it on demand now. All American built. It's hosted by Stuart Varney, and the ship, the show is called Destroyer, and it's all about the building of the ships during World War II. Myself and Ranger Patrick were spent a whole day recording, and honestly, it's about 30 minutes. The editor and producer did a great job on putting it together, and it's well worth the look. It goes into a little bit of weeds, and Patrick and myself, I think we had a great day, and we learned a lot about how a major network does things. You know, so check that out when you find it on demand, or on, I believe it may actually be on the YouTube if you look up American Built. So, and that's American it for me. Built. And I appreciate it. Anytime you want me on.
Well, no, I'm glad. So Shane's the one that kind of reached out to you. I'm glad you were able to join us tonight. And, again, one more time, for those of you that are watching tonight, if you want to learn more, or for those of you that are watching the recording of this episode of Museum Ship Mafia, please check out the Cassin Young on the Friends of the Cassin Young Facebook group. It's pretty interesting stuff. So, Buzz, I'm going to say thanks for joining us. We're going to kick you off, and now we're going to talk behind your back. But, of course, you'll have the ability. You can stay on and, listen. But, again, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Buzz.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. He's on. So
I got it. There, Hulk Hogan's tights. We're working on those hats. All right. So there's been a couple of comments by Hulk Hogan's tights. Where are the hats? Where are those Sullivan hats? So I think we're working on those with the gift shop folks, with the 5 gold stars, USS the Sullivans, DD 537 on one side. So I just got to squeeze that in real quick. So I think we're working on those.
So when you come across somebody like Buzz at the HINSA conference,
yes,
not just Buzz, but it might have been, before Parks was involved with the Kid. What was the name of that? Is it Trent at the Kid? What was the name of the guy?
Well, Roseanne was the prior executive director.
No, there was
Tim.
another-
Oh, Tim.
Tim, that's who
Yeah.
it was. Yeah,
Okay.
so Tim at the Kid, Buzz at Cassin Young. When you guys all get together for, at these conferences, and I know we've talked about the Hinsa conference before, but is it all business, or do you, what else do you guys talk about besides museum ship stuff?
Honestly, guys, it's John. Have you been in attendance? Have you gone?
He
to
hasn't.
Hinsa?
He's never
I
been to
haven't.
one.
That's right, because
No,
you
this
were.
should be my first. Yeah.
Yes, and you're hosting. Listen, man, it's all business.
Yeah,
All right,
right.
and it is. That's why I'm there. I go to make connections, to meet people. I met Buzz, and this is how we started this 80th anniversary thing. Tim was not there this year from the Kid, but Fred Klink that we had on a few.
Oh yeah, Fred from the
Fred,
Red Oak.
It is a large thing. Like there's 100 people there, 120 people there, but you find these little pockets of people, right?
Mhm.
Either at a table or you're like, can I join you for lunch? And then they usually say, get out of here, Shane. Or can I join you for dinner? And they say, ditto, you're gone, right? But you kind of find these pockets of people. Of course, you're like, so what do you do with your life, right? So what's going on, But mostly it's about, well, tell me about your ship. We'll tell you about ours. Resources, sharing of resources, things like that. So these conferences are just valuable to make those connections. And this is, everyone says, oh, I'll call you. We'll talk after the conference. Well, I try to be that person that says, no, I actually will reach out to you.
Yeah.
And so that's why and so that's something I'm proud of as myself, to say, I will say that I'll talk to you after the conference, but then I actually make the attempt to do so.
And when it comes to this fall's conference, which is obviously going to be in Albany, are you guys, and John, are you guys just getting started? Are you in the middle of it? How's that looking?
In terms of the planning of the conference?
Yeah.
So Hensa is the one who actually will plan what programs will be going on. We're just hosting. So
Okay.
You know,
So
we do
you
all
have
the
no
background
involvement
things.
with that whatsoever, then?
I don't want to say. So I'm not part of it. The conversation. That is Shanna. She's coordinating all that. It's fallen onto her lap. I'm sure the Slater will do some sort of presentation, but we haven't really. I think if there's going to be a presentation from the Slater, it's probably going to be some sort of volunteer thing. How to recruit like a volunteer force, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I was thinking my first Hinsa conference was in Manitowoc, right, with the USS Cobia and the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. That will be, I think, is kind of how this will go. I mean, when you have access to a battleship in the Alabama and the Missouri, you could do a lot on board the ships, and there was a lot for this conference. The past two conferences that you could actually host events, discussions and talks on the battleship.
Yeah.
For the Wisconsin conference, we had to go off site for a couple of things and things like that. So
obviously we're too small to really be doing like a large scale event at the ship. So it's probably going to be a lot of the hotel events. But we're right in downtown. We're minutes.
And then we're heading to Lark Street. We're gonna head out to Lark Street, guys.
Are you the one who said you had like an ex-girlfriend that lived on Lark Street or something?
I do have an ex-girlfriend that lives in Albany.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was like college girlfriend, So, but no, Ken, you're coming, right?
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great.
And actually, I sent you that email asking for Ryan's email address. I wanted to contact him about the possibility of actually presenting something at the conference. So hopefully I can actually make something like that work. All right. So we're going to wrap this up because now it is, this might be one of our longer episodes because now it's about 9:40 your guys' time.
No. The last one we went right to 10 bells last time.
What with Connor? Did we?
Yeah, it was right at 10 o'clock, I think. We went to about 2 hours. So this is good. Yeah, an hour. And that was great having Buzz on. I'm sorry to have, and I know you'll say that too about it, the connection. I don't know if he was in his basement or something like that, but
Yeah, the connection was rough. That was kind of a bummer. But I will say that, I did kind of learn a lot. It looks like they've got a pretty strong volunteer program, which was pretty cool.
Yep.
And I'm gonna bring this picture up. I love seeing stuff like, here, this one right here. So when you talk about the volunteers doing work like this, and where the heck was that? Bear with me. He sent me a ton of pictures. Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So when you talk about volunteers doing stuff like this, when I see pictures, it's just like, I always find that stuff pretty exciting, pretty inspiring. I know that, the Slater's volunteer program is rock solid, and you guys are building it at the Buffalo Naval Park. So, I was kind of happy to hear him talk about this guy, Bill, who just loves to paint everything.
yeah.
And so, yeah, those are pretty cool stories. And I think anyone that is at all interested, and that was actually Connor's story from last month, right? Remember, he showed up at the Alexander Henry just for a tour, and now all of a sudden he's super involved with the Alexander Henry as a volunteer. He's super involved with the Museum Ships Facebook group, and those are pretty cool stories. I was actually really happy to meet him this past Sunday.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Mhm.
I because of my things. So he met you in Minnesota, or were you elsewhere?
Yeah, he was. Hold on a second here. He was.
Okay, Ken. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so he was here this past Sunday to check out the Pearl Harbor gun here in Minneapolis, and yeah, so he drove all the way down from Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Wow.
With his dad and his brother. It was really cool to meet them as well. So yeah, it was a real thrill. And if you didn't see it, he also gave me hold on a second here. He gave me a mug.
Yeah, that ugly mug. Get it off the screen.
What?
That ugly mug.
No, it's not ugly. It's great.
That was the joke. No, that was the joke you said earlier. You're like, oh, you guys don't get it. Ugly mug. Get it? Yeah, there you go.
You see it? And of course,
oh my God, here we go again. Get that ugly mug off the screen. Now get that ugly mug off the screen too.
Yeah, so it was great. It was great meeting Connor. And when I meet somebody like this, obviously he's quite a bit younger than I am, and you get oh great.
You're only 25 though, right, Ken?
How old is that? Connor, how old are you? I really don't know how old you are. I was going to guess more towards 30, but
28 or something.
Maybe. But when you think about, somebody like Connor and the energy, oh, he's 28. Okay, there you go. And of course, I'm a few years older than that. When you think about the energy that he brings to the museum ship community, it's kind of, he turned 28 on Sunday. It's kind of the future. Well, John, and you're 31? How old are you?
I'm 28 as well.
Oh, you're 28? I thought you already crossed 30. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to prematurely age you. But
actually, I turn my birthday.
He did the same thing to me,
weeks.
though. Oh, very good. Happy birthday. We won't see you before then. So, yeah, he did the same thing to me. He prematurely aged me. But the 28, you guys have a goatees, right? That must be a thing for 28-year-olds these days.
Just called laziness on my end.
Is that what it is? No, but what I was saying is like,
it's good.
It's pretty amazing, to see somebody like Connor get, dive so deeply into the Alexander Henry. Well, and John, you're an example too. If you're 28 years old, that's a total generation away from Shane and I. And, you're like way, way involved with, well, it's your job, with the Slater. So that's pretty impressive too. You guys are the future. That's the way I look at it. So anyway, I get a kick out of this. And the whole point of me mentioning this is that if you've got anything like the Slater, like the Buffalo Naval Park, like the Cassin Young, the list goes on, near your house, the Alexander Henry, near where you live, you got to just not only take a tour, but say, hey, by the way, tell me about your volunteer program, and they will suck you up and find out, do you like to paint? Do you like to weld? Do you like to, whatever you like to do, they could use the help. Maybe you're a bookkeeper, and you want, they need help with the books, whatever.
It could be as simple as just coming in once a week or once a month and just sweeping. Like,
yeah.
Literally that frees up hands to do other work. So
yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they like to see. So I was thrilled to have Buzz on there. Fantastic to learn about the Cassin Young. John Epp, curator at the USS Slater. What do you want to close with?
Let's see. If anyone wants to come visit us, we're opening for our 26th season, April 5th. So our next episode, we will be open.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, right? When's our next one? It's usually the Wednesday, right?
The second Wednesday of the month.
Second Wednesday of the month. Yeah. So our next Museum Ship episode, Museum Ship Mafia episode, will be the 12th. That's correct.
Yeah, so we'll be open for a season. Anything new for the tour season? I don't think so. So last season we started doing add-on tours. Well, that is, we started pushing them more. In the past, we didn't really advertise them a whole lot. We're hoping to increase it even more. We made, a few extra $1,000 last year just because of add-on tours. So we're hoping to increase that this year. And like Ken said, we're always looking for volunteers. Tour guides, we love getting new tour guides. It's 100% exclusively tour via tour guide on the ship. And they are fanatics when it comes to our ship. So you will learn more than you even want to learn. So if you're interested in doing that, that's something. Of course, maintenance as
well. I saw that there was a question. Now, hold on.
Yeah, it must mean Michael must mean that it's on our YouTube channel or something.
Yeah, I just pulled up the Buffalo Naval Park YouTube channel. Oh, here we go. Lego History Sam says, "Hey History X, I am going to Minnesota in the summer, and I'm hoping. Okay, he must mean I'm hoping to check out the Pearl Harbor gun."
Yeah,
I will. I will tell you that just like what Connor did, he let me know that he was coming to check out the Pearl Harbor gun. Anyone that wants to check out the Pearl Harbor gun with me, I will be more than happy. I will be more than happy to show it to you because it is an amazing piece of history. I can't believe it's actually here in the Twin Cities. Of course, there's a story why it's here in the Twin Cities, but for those of you that don't know, this is the gun that fired the first shots of Pearl Harbor. And it wasn't the Japanese. It was actually the Americans. I'm pretty proud of that fact that it was the Americans that fired the first shots of Pearl Harbor. And that gun is here in Minnesota. So anyone, Lego History Sam, like Connor, whatever, anyone that wants to come and see this gun, and I will meet you there and show it to you. It's fantastic. So matter of fact, this spring or this summer, you see those rust spots on the barrel. I'm actually going to head over there and try and take care of those, get those to go away.
You're going to ask for permission first, right?
What's that?
You're going to ask for permission first.
No, just do it.
I think
there might not be a governing entity anymore there. The entity that brought it there might not be. It might be disbanded or something. So it will be up to volunteers like you, Ken.
Well, it is sitting on the grounds of the Minnesota State Capitol. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there might be there might, I don't know exactly who I should talk to. My plan was to actually just show up there with a stepladder and some sandpaper and start getting to work, and then John, I saw you. What are you saying? That's a bad idea?
No, get permission first.
Get permission from who?
It is a historic artifact. If it's on the state grounds, it's most likely owned by the state. So
go into the building that it's on. Well, I know what you're saying though. I know what you're saying. Set up your camera, you know, if it will make good things, that the security comes out and says, "Stop what you're doing. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just, you know, I mean, I get that it's good theater, but what you should find out is who actually owns the gun, or what entity was it loaned to."
Mhm.
And once you find those records, then you know potentially who to go back to. So, I mean, yeah, there's got to be the county clerk or something, or the clerk's office, or the state clerk that you can find that information from. So,
yeah, you know what? I might actually talk to you about this offline, because it sounds like you might have a pretty good idea as to how to approach this.
Yeah,
Think of it this way: would you want, if this was a museum ship, you just want some random bimbo coming off the street with a step ladder and some paint and start sanding the outside of the ship?
I love it.
Well, no, I would not. However, I mean, to have a step, what? So to have someone show up in a convertible with a step ladder sticking out of the top, and a can of paint and some sandpaper, you don't think that's official?
We also have to have the correct type of paints, which the correct.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's you got to make sure you get a chip, you know, get a chip from it, and then take it to a paint thing. It could be ocean gray, it could be haze gray, you know. So, I mean, USS Ward. Find out what the USS Ward was painted, you know, in her original configuration. That was a 1930s destroyer. I don't know the class offhand.
I'm getting a headache.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, find out the camouflage schemes of the USS Ward. That's where it came from.
Hold on a second. I wasn't.
All right, well, that's not. We don't need to get into this here.
No,
we can talk offline.
No. I wasn't. But you brought it up, so I wasn't going to actually bring this up. But here's what I was going to do, and you tell me, "Oh yeah, Ken, that's a great idea," or you tell me, "Yeah, Ken, you're going about this all wrong."
Okay.
Here's what I was going to do. I was going to go to Home Depot, get a whole bunch of paint chips, find a color that matches. And like I said, show up there with my step ladder and my sandpaper and my cameras, and like take a picture of, you know, watch me do this, prime it, then paint it. And it sounds, now is that the good way to do it, or hold on a second, somebody?
No, what I would have done is I would have gone and thank you, CC. That's right. I would have gotten a chip off of the gun.
Oh, great. Oh, so you would have
vandalized
the gun.
No, you're not vandalizing. You could take a little 1 inch by 1 inch somewhere. You see it right on the barrel there. And then you take that to Home Depot and have them match a paint to that chip. I mean, if you can find 25 different grays and then you're bringing the swatches there, that could, you know, so you're not that you would do damage to it. But yeah, I mean, if you could just get a little 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch or 1 inch by 1 inch or something. And then you're doing it in reverse. You're taking that to Home Depot and then you're having them mix it and blend it. But I also would do research into the USS Ward and what type of scheme she was wearing. There's a lot of information out there about camouflage schemes. And then they also have colorways and swatches right online about that sort of stuff too. So.
Well, and Eric makes a good point. As they're cuffing me and taking me away,
well, it makes for good theater, sir. Right. Good theater.
Yeah, and Eric's right. It's like,
hey, look at George. Look at George's comment. Look at George's comment. Love it.
I saw that. Yeah, George. So I'm actually in Minneapolis. Where in the metro are you? Are you more St. Paul? Are you like maybe more like Burnsville, Plymouth? Whereabouts in the Twin Cities are you? Let me know. And hell yeah, let's.
That's cool, guys.
I don't like seeing rust spots on the barrel of a gun like this. And a lot of people on the Museum Ships Facebook group actually said, it's like, if this is the gun that fired the first shots of Pearl Harbor, what is it doing outside? It should be inside. And I agree with that. Somebody made it. What?
Are we okay? Yeah, go ahead.
We're not. What? Shane wants to go, but someone else actually made a comment here about. Oh, here we go. Hulk Hogan's tights. The first shot fired at Pearl Harbor were actually by PT boats.
Interesting. I haven't heard. I don't know that history then.
Neither do I. But I wonder if he's right.
It could be they're firing at midget subs. So
77-foot Elko PT boats.
Yeah, that would take a little more interesting. That would take a little more digging.
I'm going to look that up because if
Yeah.
he's right, that's pretty cool.
You got to take down that video you made.
No, I wouldn't take it down. I would just create a whole new video. So, all right. So getting back, okay. So we talked to John about what's, the Slater, preparing for opening. Bear with me a moment. The best way to check out the Slater and their information, obviously their YouTube channel, search for the USS Slater. Same thing on Facebook. They just posted a picture of Shanna, and I'm sorry, who was the other person in picture of their office in the wardroom?
Joanne, she's our business manager, so she handles every single donation that comes into the ship.
Yeah, so definitely check out their Facebook page. You can check out their website, ussslater.org, and like I always say, click like, subscribe, on their YouTube channel, and throw your support behind the USS Slater. Shane Stevenson, curator and director of collections at the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park. What's what do you want to let us know before we shut things down tonight?
Well, again, like just kind of summaries for the people that maybe weren't there in the beginning. We're having a St. Patrick's Day party on March 16th, next Thursday. You could buy tickets. You also get some beer, I guess, if that's what it is, beer and corned beef and cabbage. We open March 25th. And April 4th, we are releasing, this kind of year of the Sullivans for the 80th, but also reflecting back because it was close to the capsizing event on April 14th. So it's going to be about the launching, what we're doing for the rest of the season for the Sullivans, and going on from there. The add-on tours, I know John was just mentioning about his add-on tours. So we're doing a lot of that, and then the curator tours and just all this other stuff this year. So, and working with the 80th with the kid and the Cassin Young. So that's what I've got.
I wanted to give a shout out real quick to this guy right here. So Rob with Rocky Mountain Life Prospecting at the YouTube channel. If you guys have an interest in, gold prospecting or metal detecting, this guy lives in Colorado, in the mountains of Colorado, and he actually contacted me, or no, actually he may have commented on some of my videos. I contacted him, actually interviewed him several months ago. I want to post that video, but this guy has the life. He runs around the mountains of Colorado with his metal detector looking for all kinds of stuff. And
Great.
yeah, I know. And when you see this guy, his video, he's got this like Indiana Jones hat. I mean, he is the real deal. So check out his YouTube channel if you're looking for some different content to watch. Rob is amazing. So, and he also has a veteran support aspect to what he does as well. So pretty cool stuff. And let's see. With that being said, like I said, Shane Stevenson, curator at the Buffalo Naval Park. Check out the YouTube channel, Buffalo Naval Park's YouTube channel. Simply in the search bar, type in Buffalo Naval Park, and you will get all their videos. If you want to join their members only section, I'm a member. John's a member. $5 a month, and you get special behind the scenes access to special content that you guys are posting that you can't just get on the regular. And it's more kind of behind the scenes stuff that, if you want to say that their YouTube channel is more on the official side, you get into their members only section and you get additional access behind the scenes, what it's like to actually work there. So I think that's a lot of fun. Check that out. That's $5 a month. Anything else you wanted to add about the members only?
No, I think we have filmed one of our March. We do get 2 videos to become a member, and then 1 live session. So we got to get with Ken here and talk about the StreamYard thing because we had a problem last month as well. But
yeah, we'll get that figured out. Don't worry about that. That's no big deal.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and you guys are going to be announcing when the next live is going to come up for that?
Yeah, we will be doing that probably next week, probably.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Michael.
Gotcha. And, like I always like to say, this is this episode of Museum Ship Mafia made possible by Audible. Listen to the good stuff. Download an audio book for your drive or to help you go to sleep. that's going to be in the description of this video below. So definitely check on that and click on that link. They've got stuff like Last Stand of the Tin Can Sailors, Black Sheep Squadron by Pappy Boyington. So all kinds of good stuff to check out there. My name is Ken Stano with the YouTube channel History X. As always, I like to apologize to Ryan Szymanski for not being able to get him on tonight. One of these days, we'll get him on. I've got his email address now, so I'll start hunting him down. And for audio versions of this podcast, search for Museum Ship Mafia on your favorite podcast platform. Anything I may have forgot, guys?
Nope.
No, I think we're good, sir.
Fantastic. So for the Buffalo Naval Park and USS Slater, as I said a few moments ago, my name is Ken Stano with the YouTube channel History X. Thank you for watching.
Night, everyone.